Today, I will write to our international partners who have traditionally provided support to the Financial Investigations Division and other law enforcement agencies to specifically request the assistance of international forensic auditors to help unravel this 13-year fraud so we can bring to justice all perpetrators and all co-conspirators. The coverage of this fraud in every major media outlet across the globe is a source of great embarrassment to Jamaicans here and in the diaspora. I feel the full range of emotions: anger, disgust, hurt, and like many Jamaicans, I am deeply pained by these events. The SSL fraud has touched especially raw nerves, a nerve that represents the reservoir of distrust that has developed based on what many believe to be the historical Jamaican experience of one law for some and another law for others. These waters of distrust, suspicion, and cynicism are existential threats to our society. It will take time to drain the system of these, but we must begin now. There will be full transparency in this matter. No stone will be left unturned. The investigative authorities have full operational independence and will pursue the facts wherever they may lead. They will unearth exactly how funds were allegedly stolen, who benefited from such theft, and who organized and collaborated in this. The probe will also seek to identify whether assets have been acquired with the proceeds of this fraud, whether here in Jamaica or overseas. If and when such assets are identified, all legal steps will be taken to restrain these assets with intention of full forfeiture. The Financial Investigations Division and the Fraud Squad have already, last week, sought assistance from the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the FBI, and other international partners. SSL was a relatively small securities dealer, and its problems do not pose a systemic risk to the financial system. There is therefore no need to panic. The financial sector is strong and well capitalized. The financial sector survived the global financial crisis. It survived 2 debt exchanges. It survived the COVID-19 economic shock, the inflation crisis, and it even managed to grow through all of this. Not only is the financial sector strong, it is also resilient. More specifically, the securities dealers industry remains a strong and critical pillar upon which our country, our economy, and our investing public depend. We as a country require a strong and stable and credible securities dealers industry that is ready to operate not only in Jamaica, but on a regional level and an international level to move our country forward. Regulatory chronology of FSC's interaction with SSL for the 13 years between 2010 and 2023, which coincides with the period of the alleged fraud, will show that SSL was under regulatory scrutiny for much of this period. SSL was under directions from the FSC for the period 2010 to 2013. SSL was under amended directions from the FSC from the period 2013 to the end of August of 2017. SSL was again placed under directions during the period October of 2019 all the way through to the end of 2022. Those directions were never lifted, following the results of an on-site examination in 2019. SSL was placed on additional directions when the fraud became evident in 2023. The central issue, my fellow Jamaicans, is how did this fraud this alleged fraud go undetected for 13 years between 2010 and 2023, perhaps even longer. With external auditors, regulators, managers, bankers, and later internal auditors, how did this fraud go undetected for 13 years? I put it to you that is the central question, and it is a question that our government will ensure is answered. I ask for us not to be divided at this time by narrow ambitions, but to focus on the central issue that across 3 political administrations, 5 chairmen of the FSC, 4 executive directors, 13 years, a massive fraud was being committed at SSL, and it went undetected. And I repeat, this government will get, through its investigative bodies that operate independently, the investigative authorities will get to the bottom of it. Today, I will write to our international partners who have traditionally provided support to the Financial Investigations Division and other law enforcement agencies to specifically request the assistance of international forensic auditors to help unravel this 13-year fraud so we can bring to justice all perpetrators and all co-conspirators. Previous finance ministers can speak for themselves, but in the interest of transparency, I will relay that I had a conversation with former Minister of Finance, Ollie Shaw, today, and asked if I could share the results of that conversation with you. And he has told me that during his tenure, the matter of SSL was never raised with him by the board of FSC, nor by the FSC, anyone from the FSC. The response that I got from the temporary manager installed at SSL is that the following public bodies have balances with SSL. The National Health Fund has a balance of approximately $740 million, $740,563,020. The National Housing Trust has a balance of $238,855,480. The National Insurance Fund has a balance of $8,400,730. The Jamaica Agricultural Society has a balance of $8,958,646, and the Jamaica Banana Industry Catastrophe Fund has a balance of $98,285. I have read from a printout from the SSL system of the balance on record at SSL on behalf of these entities. The assets under management by SSL were at various points audited. So I would have to think that these balances on the system mean that the funds, that these balances are not at risk. You understand what I'm saying? But I can't speak definitively to that. The nature of the fraud seems to have been a fabrication of client statements. So the system would say one thing, but the client would end up with a statement that said something else. So here I'm not quoting from what the customer got. I'm quoting from what is on the system as provided by the temporary manager.
So you're not ruling out the possibility that these numbers may be wrong, Minister?
At this point in time, I can't rule. would never rule anything out, but I say on a balance of probabilities, given that this is what the statement has, and there is audit statements that have a total amount of funds that are still there, that are still held by SSL. The balance of probabilities is that these are not at risk. But it would be unfair to expect me to speak definitively to that at this time. But if you give me, I could, make a call to the temporary manager and give you, a more definitive response. But I wouldn't. I want to make a difference. This is from the statement, printout from SSL. The nature of the fraud is that the client got one thing when the system said something else. And the fraud seems to have been specifically targeted at, a specific set of persons. It seems as an early indication, but obviously this investigation is clearly at a very early stage still.
The minister's statement today is a very solid response. From what I gather, I would like to digest it, like to read it, review it. But looking at the overall regulatory framework and making the adjustments to the regulatory framework as we go forward, and they seem to be substantial, that I think is a good step in the right direction, because we have had our capital markets evolving over the last 20 years and regulations have been trying to keep up. Now we need to shape it for the future going forward, and I believe as we digest this, we will be able to determine, and as he says, with consultation from the industry, how we can tweak or look at this Twin Peaks regulatory model that you have spoken about, and we are looking forward to that discussion. I feel that I'm very disappointed and very around what has occurred. It has certainly impacted confidence of investors and the investment community, and especially those who were warming up to investments and all that. No, we can repair the damage, price damage. We have to repair the damage because the capital markets are very much important to the development of Jamaica, and the confidence is a key determinant in how we go forward.